iron-driven hellholes without being rude, and they...
And for a second example of media bias, in this case total media distortion, we're going to look at Sky News. Just take a look at this headline from The Sun. This headline went all over the world. And where did it originate from? Well, it originated from Sky News with an interview with Tommy Robinson. And I want you to note two words in particular. The first word is he. And the second word is also he. So Tommy Robinson says that he doesn't care if he incites fear of Muslims as long as it prevents children from being raped. And that headline was run right throughout the world, as far as Australia and America, Europe, etc. But that headline is simply not true. What they did was ask a question in a voiceover and then take an answer from another question in the interview, and also had then to change two words. So let's see what Sky News broadcast.
Villain to some, but glorified outside court today. There's no doubt he's become a public figure, but I put it to him that as with terrorism, his opinions on grooming gangs risked demonising an entire community.
So there is the question. It's about his opinions demonising an entire community. Now please note when Tommy answers, he doesn't say he. The two he's don't appear in the sentence. What he says is it. And the reason for this we'll explain in a minute.
Do you know what? Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I don't care if it incites fear, so long as it educates the children and prevents them being raped. Okay?
Do you really want to leave this interview with the thought that you're happy to instill fear of a community of 3.8 million people?
So here is the real question and answer. Tommy was talking about a video in Holland put out to help train young girls how to avoid grooming. There was a problem in Holland with Muslims doing the grooming, just as there is in this country, and Tommy advocated that that training video should be shown to children on how to avoid being caught up in grooming. Only the UK government banned it.
Okay, there was a video called Loverboy that come out of Holland, which was showing that in Holland it's Moroccans, okay, doing these crimes. In Britain it's Pakistanis, we have majority Pakistanis. If you go to France it's Algerians. Common denominator in all of them, they're Muslims. Now, if you go to Holland, they actually created an educational video to be shown in schools to warn children about these crimes. When they tried to show that in Britain in 2007, the British establishment would not allow that video to be shown because, like you just go, oh, it will incite racial hatred. So because of people
it's going to incite fear to suggest that, when you also know that there are, like the group in Bristol, white paedophiles. There's the.
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I don't care if it incites fear, so long as it educates the children and prevents them being raped. Okay. Now that fear is a genuine, realistic fear that people should have. You know, every parent who lives near a Muslim community who has a young daughter, that fear's already in them.
So there we have it. Sky News took an answer to a different question than that on the voiceover. But that didn't make sense. So Sky News had to change two words. They had to change the it to a he. All Tommy was talking about was a training video to help children avoid being groomed. And unbelievably, the British government put the safety of their children lower than offending a community. Now let's continue with that interview to see what other points are made by Sky News and the complete biased way in which they operate.
In every single town and city in this country, young children are being taken as slaves by gangs of Muslim men. Now, if you don't want to draw the correlation to the fact that Islam promotes and allows that, then you don't want to because you're too weak and too much of a coward to do it. But I will do it. I will tell people we need to look at why this is happening and understand why it's happening.
I'm telling you that you're potentially inciting racial hatred. Unbelievable. You've been out on the streets. You get, you know, over the course of your time as an EDL member, you were getting people out on the streets.
What race have I mentioned? What race have I mentioned? What race have I mentioned?
You've mentioned Muslims, and you mentioned
Muslims aren't a race. You understand that?
We've talked about Pakistani men.
Islam is not a race.
Yeah, but we've talked about Pakistani men who believe in Israel, and this is semantics.
No.
Whether it's racism or Islamophobia.
You can't make an accusation like that. You can't make an accusation like that on TV and not back it up. Tell me what I've said that is inciting racial hatred.
You're suggesting that people of a certain origin are more likely to be rapists or child paedophiles or take slaves.
So let's now see what the current Home Secretary in 2018 says on the same subject.
I've already been clear that I will ask difficult questions about the gangs who sexually abuse our children. There will be no no-go areas of inquiry, and I will not let cultural or political sensitivities get in the way of understanding the problem and doing something about it. We know that in these recent high-profile cases where people have been convicted, that those people are disproportionately from a Pakistani background.
So that's actually factual by the grooming statistics and the rest. That's inciting racial hatred to you.
That you are suggesting that there is a group within society who are more likely to be paedophiles.
Which is exactly what the Home Secretary just did.
You might say the same about the Catholic Church, for example.
There is if we look at people who run churches, and there is a higher percentage chance that the person running there's a higher percentage chance that the person running the Catholic Church is going to be a paedophile than the person running a Buddhist church, or a Sikh temple. That's a fact. Okay. Now another fact is that there is a higher percentage chance that it's Muslim men for street gang grooming. That's a fact.
You're equating it to the book that they read.
No, okay. When I sit on TV and I watch Boko Haram, who are a terrorist organisation in Nigeria, when they kidnapped 200 Nigerian women, we all saw the campaign Free Our Girls. Yeah? We saw every political leader holding it. What the leader of Boko Haram said on the camera is, Mohammed has commanded us to do this. That's not me equating it. That's the leader telling us why he's took those girls. Now he clearly says, we've took those girls because Mohammed commanded us to. If you look at ISIS and all the sex slaves they've taken, they clearly state this is justified under Sharia, that's why we're doing this. Now what I'm saying is, if we've got sex slaves being taken in every Islamic country in the world, and then we look at the statistics in Britain, and we see that the majority, 90% of these grooming convictions, brothers are sharing young children as victims, cousins, fathers and sons. Okay? Yeah. There's something seriously different within this community that views how this is. There's no outroar. In fact, at each one of these court trials, all the women and all the families are calling the young girls slags.
Well, would you agree that throughout your life you've been pretty well a rebel? Do you agree you've been a rebel?